I, 31 male, found out my wife, 30 female, has been getting a coworker, 29 female, to spy on me at work. We've been married for 5 years and together for 8. I'm not very good at writing, so please accept my apologies in advance. I'll attempt to add as much information as I think is essential. But if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. My wife has long been envious of a colleague at my workplace. Heather is in her early 20s, tall and attractive. I'm only observing since I have a set of eyes. Heather is lovely, but I don't make an effort to chat to her. We collaborated on a project roughly 8 months ago, which seems to be when this began. Heather, 3 other employees, and I were assigned to this project, so we spent a good month at work together. My wife spotted her one day as we were all leaving, and she was picking me up to take me to supper at my parents' house. She inquired who she was and whether she worked at my place of employment right away. I informed her that she was new to our project and had been assigned to it. My wife was in a horrible mood practically every day of the project and would use every occasion to criticize Heather, claiming she was lanky or her nose was crooked or something. She feels self-conscious about her height since she is just 5'4" and not a 6-foot-tall glamazon. I appreciate my wife's height and her small shape and tell her this every day. She is stunning and draws a lot of attention every time we go down the street. But after seeing Heather was tall and not unattractive, she was persuaded I thought she was gorgeous. I continued telling her she was only a coworker and that I had no interest in her. If she saw my coworkers, she would either greet them coldly or not at all. Because our homes and workplaces are both downtown, we frequently walked to meet up after work. When my wife came to see me, she'd start dressing up a lot more than normal and make a big show of leaping on me and whatnot. She works at a lovely bakery and often gives us or others at my workplace leftovers from work. Except for Heather, she always gave stuff away. Heather eventually caught up on the animosity and approached me to inquire as to why my wife was behaving so hostilely. I just told her I didn't know, maybe because she hadn't known her as long as the other coworkers. She appeared to accept it, but she would no longer depart at the same time as everyone else, preferring to go early or stay late. On Friday, Brian, another employee, approached me and requested to speak with me quietly. He informed me he had gone to lunch with Kate, the questioned employee, and she had gone to pay for the meal. She had placed her phone on the table. It flashed up with a text message, and he recognized it as one from Valerie, my wife's name. The text simply read, "Did you see him talking to her today? What did he say? And do you think Heather is going to remain at that position for long?" When Kate returned to the table, he inquired whether she was Valerie, as in my wife. She gave him a deer-in-the-headlights expression and answered, "Oh yeah. We text occasionally, we're friends." He felt it was strange since she placed her phone in her bag without even viewing the text he had inquired about and wanted to go. I returned home and spied on my wife's phone. I knew it was wrong, but I had a sense if I questioned her, she'd deny it, grow defensive, and refuse to show me the phone. There were weeks' worth of messages that were effectively mini reports on what happened at work. If Heather spoke to me, what did we chat about? Did she say farewell with a hug? Did she touch me at all? And did I laugh at her jokes? Did the boys think she was gorgeous? Did I join in with them? Did I appear like I was flirting? Kate was also allegedly praising Valerie at work to Heather. She made a point of mentioning how often we were married, how wonderful Valerie was, and how long we'd been together. I also saw one that stated, I told her, Val works in a bakery. I imagine if somebody attempted to kidnap her spouse, she'd simply slice them up and bake them into a pie law. A lot of things began to fall into place at that point. Heather seemed much more distant recently. She appeared afraid to say bye at the end of the day. We used to converse casually like everyone else at work, but now she mainly says hello and bye. I've been sitting on this knowledge for the whole weekend. I couldn't look at Heather today at work because I was embarrassed, and I couldn't look at Kate because I was disgusted. I haven't approached my wife about it, since I don't know how or what to say. I'm irritated and a little perplexed. I, too, feel as if my every move is being observed without my knowledge, and as if just conversing with a colleague is a sin. I haven't told anybody else about it, not even Brian, who brought it up initially. I'm at a loss on what to do next. I have no idea what this implies for our relationship. It seems like something significant has happened since I haven't been able to look at her the same way, and all my conversations with her since Friday have been sort of forced and artificial. I need to speak with her and decide what to do. Any suggestions would be welcomed. Right now, I'm feeling really lost. Update. Took the general advice and addressed Valerie and used treatment as a non-negotiable phrase. So when I posted on Tuesday, I saw Kate at work and told her bluntly, "You don't need to report on me today or any day after this. I'll be talking to my wife after I'm done today." She got a blank look on her face and said she didn't know what I meant, but I noticed she was hanging around significantly less than usual after that. I tried my best to focus on my job, but I wanted to go home early since it was simply difficult with everything looming ahead for me to concentrate. I went home and texted my wife that I was going to be home early and that I needed to chat to her when she got home from work, so she should kindly come home right immediately. I received a lot of "what's up" and "what's wrong" messages, but I simply kept assuring her I'd speak to her later. When she arrived home, I jumped straight in. I told her I was aware of the messages with Kate, the surveillance, and Heather's harassment. She was furious at first, insisting that she had done nothing wrong and that if I had nothing to conceal, why should it matter? I warned her not to play me like a fool and explained what her actions represented, such as a lack of trust and simple vindictiveness. I mentioned the implications, such as my shattered trust and workplace strife. I further mentioned how this may jeopardize my work. She made it a point to say that they couldn't fire me without also firing Heather because she'd complained about being inappropriate to a married man at work, and Kate would back her up. That sparked a violent disagreement between us, which ended with her sobbing and me shouting. She began by saying, "Who the F is Heather to you that you give such a SHD?" and then devolved into this entire thing about my caring too much for someone I said meant nothing to me. I don't want to go into too much detail since it would be too lengthy, but the chat lasted around 5-6 hours. It concluded with her agreeing to attend a couples treatment, as well as solo counseling if the couple's therapist considered it necessary. She apologized to me a lot and acknowledged she had been behaving out of envy and resentment towards Heather. She asked if I wanted her to apologize to Heather in person, but I declined since I didn't want any more trouble. I watched as she texted Kate, telling her to stop and apologizing for bringing her into it. She offered me the password to her phone for transparency, but I told her it was unnecessary, as if she truly wanted to continue, she could simply erase the messages before I saw them or alter the name or anything. I told her I expected her to fulfill her promise and stop, and that if there was any hint that this was still going on after our conversation, I would split from her and file for divorce. Things were still tight yesterday morning, but that was to be anticipated. She still kissed me on the cheek before leaving for work, and we had a typical text chat on our way to work. I come to work and Kate apologizes to me and I take it but tell her our work relationship from here on out is permanently ruined and there's no coming back from it. I tell her that we don't have anything else to speak about but work. She accepted it and proceeded about her day. Lunch arrives. I ask Brian if I may buy him lunch and thank him for informing me. We go to lunch, and he asks whether I've heard Heather's request for a transfer. Heather apparently queried why I wasn't at my desk on Tuesday, when I left early since she had handed over the week's project booklet and had seen me there earlier. Kate, of all persons, informed her that I had returned home to deal with personal difficulties. When Heather inquired whether everything was well, Kate said, "I don't want to see someone come between Valerie and Worldskin Ahmed's marriage." Heather went all the way up to our boss's boss and requested for a transfer to a different department, so there must have been more to the conversation. I'm really humiliated since I unquestionably feel like that man in the workplace right now. I know Brian isn't a gossip, but of course, others will wonder why Heather transferred, and the truth will ultimately come out. People who used to casually talk to me will most likely stop. The workplace ladies will feel compelled to maintain their distance, and I'm so embarrassed that I can't even approach Heather to apologize for the anguish this has undoubtedly caused her. At this point, I doubt she want to see my face. So, yeah, the wife has consented to couples and individual counseling, has apologized to me, and has done all of those things. But the damage has been done, and I now feel like a complete jerk about my job. I suppose I shouldn't have been so foolish to believe that simply resolving this with my wife would solve everything else. Anyway, thank you everybody for your suggestions. I was feeling a little disoriented before making that message. I'm still unsure how to deal with the fallout from all of this, but at least one aspect of it is resolved or on its way to being handled, so that's a plus.